Nirvana. The Israelite tribes migrated westward from the Gobi Desert to form the Aryan race. This is represented in the Exodus as Israel's departure from the land of Egypt toward the Promised Land. Enormous caravans of human beings, led by the masters of greater mysteries, left Atlantis for the Gobi Desert, and then headed west to merge with some Western races to form our current Aryan race. The captains of these biblical exoduses were the same masters of greater mysteries. They were deeply revered by humanity, and no one dared to disobey their sacred orders. Moses spent 40 years in the desert, meaning the primitive Israelites spent 40 years in the desert, where they built the Ark of the Covenant, established the mysteries of Levi, and worshipped Jehovah. The 7 sanctuaries of mysteries migrated westward, and under the light of these sanctuaries, Persia of the Magi, India of the Rishis, Chaldea, Egypt, Hellenic Greece, and others flourished. Hidden wisdom enlightened Solon, Pythagoras, Heraclitus, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Buddha, etc. Under the light of the sacred mysteries, the most powerful civilizations of the past thrived. As humanity developed intellect, it distanced itself from the inner worlds. When man lost clairvoyance, he experienced fear. Before, there was no fear because man could witness the actions of the gods and see the outcome of everything. Man moved away from the great light, and now he must return to the great light. Buddhists tell us that when a person frees themselves from the cycle of birth and death, they enter the ineffable bliss of nirvana. Gnostics know that Christ is a Nirmanakaya, who renounced nirvana to come and save humanity. The Book of the Dead says, "I am the crocodile Sebek, I am the 3-wick flame, and my wicks are immortal. I enter the region of Sekhem, I enter the region of the flames that have defeated my adversaries." That region of Sekhem, that region of flames, is the ineffable bliss of nirvana. A Dhyanchan is one who has already abandoned the 4 bodies of sin: physical, astral, mental, and causal. A Dhyanchan operates only with their diamond soul, and thus they have already been liberated from Maya and live happily in nirvana. The sacred crocodile is the inner self. The inner self is the flame with its 3 immortal wicks. These 3 wicks are their diamond soul, their fiery mind, and Atman, their own spiritual body. Nirvana is a realm of nature where the ineffable happiness of fire reigns. This nirvanic plane has 7 sub-planes, and on each of these 7 sub-planes of nirvanic matter, there is a magnificent hall where Nirvanakayas study their mysteries. This is why they refer to their sub-planes as halls, and not sub-planes, as the Theosophists call them. Nirvanists say, "We are in the first hall of nirvana, or the second hall of nirvana, or the third or the fourth or the fifth or the sixth or the 7th hall of nirvana." It is impossible to describe the ineffable happiness of nirvana. There, the music of the spheres reigns, and the soul is enraptured in a state of bliss impossible to paint with words. The inhabitants of the upper halls of nirvana wear diamond robes and carry mantles of distinction over their heads that fall to their feet. We can visit nirvana in the astral body, and the yogis of India, in a state of samadhi, visit nirvana in their mental or causal bodies. However, attempting to visit nirvana through black magic methods like those of the Rosicrucians of San Jose, California, is the height of madness. The 9th degree disciples of the Rosicrucians of San Jose, after going through the black initiation, receive teaching to create a cloud with their minds and words, using the mantram Rama, pronounced as Rayamaya. Ra is masculine, Ma is feminine. They use sexual and mental force to create a cloud of astral matter. Once the cloud is formed, they enter it, attune themselves to a specific place, and, logically, there is a separation or detachment from the astral, allowing them to travel where they want in the astral body. They call this nirvana, and indeed through this method, they travel in the astral body, but not to nirvana. The Gnostic knows how to enter nirvana using the powers of their inner self. When a Gnostic wishes to enter nirvana, they do the following. First, they leave their physical body in the astral form. Second, once outside their physical body, they pray to their inner self like this: "My Father, take me to nirvana." And then the inner self transports the Gnostic's soul to the ineffable joys of nirvana. The Gnostic's method for leaving the physical body in the astral form is quite simple. The Gnostic takes advantage of the natural transitional state between wakefulness and sleep to leave the body, as naturally as leaving a house. They simply need to pronounce the mantram Rusty as they are falling asleep, and then lower themselves from the bed, not in their minds or imagination, but as if in flesh and bone. The body remains in the bed. The mantram is pronounced as follows, Risti, several times. This concentration work of the 9th degree black magician of the Rosicrucians, along with the tremendous expenditure of sexual energy, is detrimental to the disciples. The mantra Ra activates the male pole of the sexual energy stored in the sexual glands. The syllable Ma externalizes the female sexual energy within. The black magician of the Rosicrucians uses their own sexual forces, combined with mental force, to exit in the astral body. Of course, they need to form a cloud with their minds, then draw the cloud during meditation, and then enter it, attuning themselves to a specific place, ultimately leaving the physical body. Ancient black magicians enveloped themselves with such a cloud and then, full of intense faith, began to walk in flesh and bone. Their physical bodies immersed in the astral plane, and they transported themselves to remote distances in minutes. This knowledge has been forgotten by modern members of the Rosicrucians. The Gnostic knows that they must always conserve their sexual forces, as these awaken the Kundalini positively. The procedure of the Rosicrucians and the Amorc harms the Kundalini of any disciple of the White Brotherhood, halting their progress. The mantra Ra helps awaken the Kundalini, but it must be done correctly. And this is what the black magicians of the Amorc do not understand. They believe that by pronouncing Rama every morning while standing and taking several breaths, they will purify themselves. But they completely misunderstand the wisdom of the Egyptians. We, the ancient Egyptians, pronounce the mantra Ra in the Egyptian posture, knees on the ground, palms of the hands touching the ground with thumbs on the ground, and the head on the backs of the hands. The mantra is pronounced like this, Reoya, several times. As previously mentioned, the ancient black magicians were enveloped in a cloud that physically transported them wherever they wished. The cloud acted as a lever or instrument to move the physical body from the physical realm into the astral plane. Once they arrived at their destination, they left the cloud and were back in the physical realm at their desired location. The modern Rosicrucian black magicians have forgotten this. The force used for this comes from the sexual glands, which they do not explain to their disciples. In their 7th monograph for the 9th degree, they briefly state, Ra represents the positive creative force, and Ma represents the negative force that complements Ra. Ra-Ma together is the force of creation. Why don't they explain this to their disciples? Why do they hide this from their students? Why don't they speak honestly? What's wrong with them? They know that if they remove the mask, their dark institution will fail, and that's why they remain silent. Using sexual energy for such purposes is black magic. With these experiments, black disciples discharge their energy like an electric battery, and they lose the forces they could use to awaken the Kundalini positively. Christ, the divine rabbi of Galilee, taught us the secret of traveling with the physical body through the astral plane. Let's examine verses 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32, chapter 14 of the Gospel. And the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. But in the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit, and they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water, to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand, and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. This is the Gnostic secret to enter the astral plane with the physical body. Peter was walking on the water because, through the force of faith, his physical body was immersed in the astral plane. But when he doubted, he left the astral plane and was about to sink. The forces of the astral plane supported Peter on the water, and it was the astral plane that held Christ on the water. When Gnostics want to travel with the physical body in the astral plane, they use the master's key. Here's how we proceed. At the moment of waking up from natural sleep, without any analysis, doubt, or hesitation, filled with intense faith, we rise from our bed, leave our room, and suspend ourselves in the atmosphere. Only faith sustains us. Any analysis, doubt, or hesitation harms the experiment. We can also take advantage of the moment when we are falling asleep, or when the mind is in deep rest, like a calm lake. The physical body floats simply because, through faith, we abandon the force of gravity and the physical plane, entering the astral plane where levitation laws apply. Our disciples also know how to walk on water, just like our master. We are true Christians. The black magicians of the Amorc use the cloud procedure to envelop themselves and become invisible. They have not forgotten mimicry. If they are in a jungle, they will make the cloud green, and if they are in a room with white walls, they will make it white, becoming invisible. The white magicians use the power of their inner self to become invisible, but this power is only granted to them when they have earned it. The black magicians of the Amorc believe that with their black experiments, they can enter nirvana, which is a mistake. They enter the astral but not nirvana. Gnostics can visit nirvana even in flesh and bone. The theosophists may scoff at us because they do not know these things. They only have a head full of theories, but in practice, they are no more than eunuchs of understanding. Morbid mystics, fornicating sybarites. I still remember the theosophist a member of the Rainbow Lodge in Bogota, and how he fled in terror in Cartagena Park when Samael Aun Weor, told him that he was working consciously in the astral. This is the height of negativity among theosophists. They are horrified even at the mere thought of awakening consciousness. They are only interested in filling their minds with nonsense and living in a state of slumber. But they claim that someday they intend to enter nirvana. They are fools, paragons of wisdom, idiots. Only those who have given their last drop of blood for humanity can enter nirvana. We all aspire to the high initiation, but one can only reach the altar of the high initiation with the male member in a state of erection. To achieve the high initiation, one must be very masculine. The Gnostic always has a strong ego and a robust and powerful personality, free from weakness. The Gnostic lives heroically, always triumphant and rebellious, like the heroes of Rabelais, without weakness. The Gnostic ascends to the high initiation with an upright member, for the Gnostic is truly masculine. The Gnostic aspires to nirvana, but knows very well that nirvana resides in their testicles and only wants to realize it within themselves through courage.